provide you with the lowest per GB rates, night or day. SLT 4G, driving you ever forward.
Making headlines for First at 9. Agro boost. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa pledges to exempt the farming community from income tax. The lion's share. Minister Mahinda Samarasinghe reiterates the government's stance on the Parliamentary Select Committee.
As a government, when we sit on any committee, we should have the majority.
More assurances. Government impresses its ability to meet debt obligations following Moody's downgrade.
We have in excess of $2 billion that are clearly available. We will be able to raise over the next few months.
The UNP points the finger at political impasse.
This has followed the events of the last 3 weeks, where there has been a political coup in this country.
Divisive celebration. Former Northern Provincial Councillor insists on celebrating Maveera Day in the north since the south commemorates war heroes. Khashoggi murder saga. Turkey unhappy with the level of cooperation from Saudi Arabia.
Bike එකක් ගත්තොත් ෆෝන් එකක්. ඔව් තෝරාගත් Yamaha බයික් මාදිලි සඳහා රුපියල් 40000ක් දක්වා වටිනා ස්මාර්ට් ෆෝන් එකක් නොමිලේ. ඉක්මන් කරන්න නොවැම්බර් 30 දක්වා පමණයි. කොන්දේසි සහිතයි. අමතන්න 0117 AMW තින් පමණයි.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanayaka and your top story this evening. Cabinet co-spokesperson Minister Mahinda Samarasinghe reiterates the government's stance on the composition of the Parliamentary Select Committees, saying in any case the government should have the lion's share. Drawing comparisons between the United National Front and the United People's Freedom Alliance today, the minister said that the UPFA numbers are greater and therefore warrants a majority in the committee. He went on to say that it is an entirely different matter that the TNA and the JVP joining the United National Front over separate issues.
They demand, they say, they fight for their 122, as you said, heads or whatever.
100 and how much?
122.
20.
And you have already said that you have only the support of 104 or something.
What was pointed out, previous press conference, was that the alliance, our SLFP and the UNF is the UMP-led coalition.
Yes.
Now that has, what was pointed out was that has 101 at the moment, and we have, as a party, as an alliance, we have 103. That was all that was shown.
Yeah.
TNA coming in and JVP coming in on a issue basis. Supporting either side is a different matter.
But they are fighting together, Mattuma. They are fighting together as a unit of 122 heads.
Yeah, so
in
on
Parliament.
that issue, not that they have formed an
never let
alliance.
you have a majority in the...
they have not formed a political alliance, that's all I'm saying.
They categorically say that they will not let you have majority in the select committee tomorrow.
We have made our position very clear. We have said, as a government, when we sit on any committee, we should have the majority. And out of the 12, we have submitted 7 names. If you take party by party, we are the largest party in Parliament today because we have 103, as against the UMP and its coalition partners having 101. So the TNA will get their portion, JP will get their portion. You see, that's how it is a portion. So we also have, don't forget, 2 ex officio members on our side, who is the leader of the House and the Chief Government Whip. This is why we are asking for 7. So let's see.
The recent transfer of the officer in charge of the CID's Organised Crimes Investigation Unit, Inspector Nishant Silva, was also touched on during the cabinet briefing. The reversal of the transfer later gave rise to media reports which said the IGP had allegedly effected the transfer upon instruction of the President.
Commission has delegated that authority. Anybody below the rank of ASP is the prerogative of the IGP. Anybody higher than ASP is done by the Commission. So, but our question is this. The IGP, in a letter to the Defence Secretary, says that on the orders of the President, he has effected this transfer. Now, you're saying it is not true. So,
I can tell you with authority, we asked this question, both of us, from His Excellency the President. President had not given any such instruction. If there is such a letter, I'm sure he will take action.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa intends to exempt the farming community from income tax in a bid to boost agricultural sector. Addressing a religious function held at Beliata today, the Premier also raised questions over the various, or more like the previous government's comprehension of the agro sector. The President invited us to take over the government at a very crucial point. The head of state was getting death threats, the economy was shattering and the administration of the country was deteriorating. He never violated the constitution. People of this country are speaking how to solve this political crisis. People say the best option is seeking the mandate of the people. We have always kept faith in the people. They will definitely provide the right solution at an election. Therefore, the government as well as the opposition must face an election without running away. We feel that people are suffering from the burden of tax. I will take action to remove taxes on any manner of agricultural revenue. I'm not sure whether the previous government had a good understanding about the agricultural sector. They, however, were instructed at international level not to give much attention to that sector. The farming community will be exempt from income tax for a period of 5 years and they will be provided more concessions encouraging the agro sector. A group of former Sri Lankan ambassadors and academics yesterday pointed out the importance of knowing how to interpret the constitution. Speaking at a media briefing held at the Foundation Institute in Colombo, they attempted to disentangle the confusions which have arisen over the constitutionality of the President's actions and the procedures adopted in Parliament recently.
We all should know Article 33(2) states the President can dissolve Parliament without any restrictions. Article 71(1) states the President cannot dissolve Parliament until 4.5 years since the meeting of the Parliament. Article 71 is an odd provision which I have not seen in any Commonwealth constitution. I believe the 71 prohibiting the President, whereas the President could be impeached by the Parliament from the day one, but Parliament could not be dissolved until 4.5 years. If there are two provisions of the Constitution which are inconsistent with one another, it is axiomatic to interpret the Constitution in the way it can work and not in a way the Constitution becomes futile. In this context, it is relevant to consider whether application of the doctrine of necessity can be used to justify the dissolution of Parliament. It can therefore be argued that situation where there is a deadlock between the President and the Prime Minister, which cannot be resolved easily, as expounded by Dr. N.M. Pereira, the only way to resolve the situation is to dissolve Parliament or impeach the President. In this instance, the policies relating to sale of national assets, ratification of FTAs without approval of Parliament, involvement of PA in a bond scam as the minister in charge, and enacting certain legislation, adopting liberal economic policies as irreconcilable differences between the President and the Prime Minister. The 19th Amendment has created many conceptual, contextual, syntactic ambiguity. In this context, it is my firm belief that the 19th Amendment of the Constitution should be repealed and replaced.
Mr. Sumanthiran proposed a motion to suspend the standing orders. But he didn't know that that motion should have been done in accordance with the standing order. It's Standing Order 135. A motion to suspend standing orders should have the mandatory requirements. One is, it should be specific with regard to what the purpose, the standing orders to be suspended. Now, Mr. Subanthiran's motion didn't disclose why he wanted to suspend the standing order. Secondly, what specific standing order to be suspended was not disclosed. It cannot be the whole together. Once you call for a division, the Speaker should adhere to Standing Order 47. What the Speaker did on both days, that he counted the vote on voices. This cannot be done. That's also an illegal practice, because when you ask for a division, there are only 3 ways to take the vote. According to the standing orders, you can't get the vote by voice. Supposing if the Speaker decides to take the vote by voice, thereafter if he decides to take by division, he can't go back to voices. Now in both cases, on both days, we saw the Speaker was saying that I like to take by name, that is by division. But due to the circumstances, I can't do that, so I take the vote by voice. That cannot be done. He can't go backwards. Both motions suspending the standing orders were not passed properly in terms of the law. Then the proceedings follows were in violation of the standing orders. This no confidence motion was not in the order paper on that day, so they have violated it right throughout. Therefore, there's no confidence motion validly passed in the Parliament on both days. At the end of voting on both days, the Speaker didn't say that whether the motions were passed or not.
Moving on to other local stories, UPFA parliamentarian Kanchan Wijesekara is of the view that the most democratic way to handle the current political impasse in the island is to hold an election. He also highlighted that Sri Lanka is now in the able hands of the President and the Prime Minister, as they will do everything possible to repay loans and to continue the development plans that came to standstill during the former regime.
The Honourable Speaker, in the last 3 days of Parliament sittings, tried to create an image to the world. There is instability in this country and there is no democracy within the Parliament. But that is not the true picture of this country. If you look back the last 25 days that the Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has taken over, have you seen any developments in armed gangs in the north and east provinces? Have you seen underworld activities being held throughout the country? Or any protests being done by professionals or student groups? Or any sectors? They have all got the confidence of the PM Mahinda Rajapaksa will do something good for this country. But the Speaker, Honourable Karu Jayasuriya, invited only a few Western diplomats to the Parliament premises and tried to portray an image to the world that the Parliament of Sri Lanka has not adhered to the democratic values of this country. The most democratic way the public can go forward is an election. We are waiting for the results of the Supreme Court judgment. There are rumors that there are economic sanctions being talked about in the Western countries. These sanctions, these threats were there in the 2009 government as well. In 2005, we can remember there was tremendous international pressure on the then government not to continue the war or to adhere to the rules and regulations or the framework that they have pointed out as an economic plan as well as a development plan. But His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa took a different approach, listened to the people of this country. We are quite sure as the government members that His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa as well as His Excellency Maithripala Sirisena together will do everything that is possible to furnish the loans that are to be repaid in 2019, as well as to continue with the development plans and development strategies that was come to a complete stop in 2015 January.
The United National Party highlights a presidential election as the best solution to resolve the prevailing political impasse in the country, since it would not breach the constitution. UNP parliamentarian Gayantha Karunathilaka made the suggestion while addressing a media briefing held today, where another UNP MP challenged the governing party to show that they have the support of over 85 members in parliament, let alone 102. We remind you that the only election that can be held according to the Constitution at this point is the presidential election. If a presidential election is held, the Constitution won't be breached. It will also depict the public consensus. Don't show the majority, just show that they have 85. That's our challenge. There are 18 that don't attend parliamentary sessions from the government. The choices are either to be in power at the country's expense or to save the country without being in power. Before holding an election, the institution which holds the election should be legitimate. The government which holds the election should be an institution which is recognized by the people and the international community. If not, how can the world accept the results of an election?
In the meantime, the fast unto death dubbed against the constitutional conspiracy of the President, organised by the Movement for a Just Society, led by Venerable Dambara Amila Thera, held in front of the Vihar Mahadevi Park in Colombo, entered its second day. Several parliamentarians of the United National Party joined the protest today.
It is sad that Vasantha Senanayaka, who is a descendant of DS Senanayaka, too joined their process.
In the meantime, several factions expressed their views on the protest organised by Venerable Dambara Amila Thera.
It is surprising if he didn't start a fast unto death campaign at this point. Where was he when 2,500-year-old archaeological sites in the north and east were being bulldozed, or when members of the Mahasangha were being imprisoned on false accusations, and when the Buddha Sasana was being insulted?
බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේද රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ වහන්සේද කියන සැකය අපිට අද තියෙනවා.
මොකද දඹර අමිල හිමියෝ මේ උපවාසය කරා නම්
if Dambara Militera conducted protests against the destruction of archaeological sites or to save the unitary status of the country for the Sasana or the race, we could have come on board with him. Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Sarath Amunagama says that lack of trained scholars in the country might prevent foreign investments being attracted to Sri Lanka. The minister made the remark while addressing a function held in Colombo this morning.
Today in the modern world, we cannot think of progress unless we are attuned to the latest trends of education and technology. Being a small country, Sri Lanka has limited resources, limited natural resources, but we have a wonderful young population. Unfortunately, our existing educational system does not produce the type of young person who can take the economy forward. It is completely attuned to sending about 30,000 young people into universities every year. Only 30,000 get into university. This is no reflection on the capabilities or the determination of young people. It is only that our educational model and our investments have not been properly directed. So it is our main responsibility as a country to see that these young people who are constrained from going into that, what I would call outdated education system, to bring them into the modern world. If we don't have enough of these trained people like you, then it is difficult for us to attract modern investment, to attract new industry, and even our existing industries to go forward.
Minister of Buddha Sasana and Religious Affairs Udaya Gammampila intends to file a case against UNP MP Ranjan Ramanayaka for contempt of court. Addressing a media briefing in Colombo today, Minister Gammampila said that UNP MP Ramanayaka made comments pertaining to Supreme Court judges during a live television program on TV Derana recently, which can be held in contempt of court. Now, the subject matter was in fact the recent dissolution of Parliament.
UNP MP Ranjan Ramanayaka took part in a live political program on TV Derana last Tuesday and aired his views on the case pertaining to the dissolution of Parliament. Touching on the stay order given by the Supreme Court, MP Ramanayaka had this to say.
The three-member judge bench has given a stay order. We heard that the panel will be increased to 5 members. If it is increased to 5, 3 will be for us and 2 will be for them. I don't think there will be any changes to the decision.
In view of the comments made by MP Ramanayaka, Minister of Buddha Sasana and Religious Affairs Udaya Gammampila said today that they hope to file a case for contempt of court. The minister also called for the relevant case to be heard before a full bench. In the meantime, a statement issued by the UNP Central Bureau says that party leader Ranil Wickremesinghe instructs all its MPs to refrain from making comments on cases being heard at courts, including the Supreme Court. The UNP leader has also informed MPs to be knowledge and responsible on the subject when making comments, while encouraging them to refrain from making comments if otherwise.
Now, former Northern Provincial Councillor M.K. Sivajalingam says that as the JVP commemorates their fallen heroes in the south, then in the north and east, people there have the right to commemorate their fallen heroes on Mavirar Day. Now, the former TNA council member made this comment speaking to Ada Derana this morning. Tamil people commemorate the Mavirar Day and Mavirar Week annually as a tradition. Accordingly, they will commemorate it on the 27th of November this year as well in the north. They have a right to commemorate over 50,000 fallen people. We in the north and east can celebrate the day as the JVPers in the south celebrate the November Heroes Day in November. If anyone say that fallen Tamils cannot be commemorated, we ask the government whether they have 2 different administration systems for the north and the south. If the government thinks so, it means the government has accepted that the country is divided into 2. Therefore, I would like to say that if they can celebrate in the south, the same rule should administer in the north as well. Now, it was only last Friday night that TV Derana was garlanded with 3 gold awards at the Slim Brand Excellence Awards. Now, TV Derana's achievements have not gone unnoticed in other quarters as well, since it won 5 awards at the State Television Awards 2018, worked off in Colombo last night.
The State Television Arts Awards 2018 was held at the Nelumpokuna Theatre in Colombo last night in grand fashion. 5 programs telecast on TV Derana were felicitated. Musical program Manovana Mama won the award for the Best Music Program, while the Best Audio Mixing Award was bagged by Derana Dream Star reality program. Program Adirajadar Mashoka telecast on TV Derana won the award for the Best Dubbed Program. The Best Telefilm title was awarded to Umatu Horava and the Best Documentary Drama Award went to Suranganavi by TV Derana.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, Secretary General of the National Economic Council, Professor Lalit Samarakon, says that there is no question over the government's ability to service its debt. He highlighted that even though a possible volatility in the capital flows and the exchange rate can be expected as a result of the Moody's decision, the situation would stabilize once the investors recognize that Sri Lanka is not deviating from macroeconomic fundamentals. Now, yesterday, the day before, in fact, the Moody's downgraded Sri Lanka from B1 to B2.
We have in excess of $2 billion that are clearly available. We will be able to raise over the next few months. Therefore, there is no question absolutely whatsoever of our ability to service $1.5 billion of sovereign bonds which are outstanding. There is no intention to deviate from our fiscal discipline either, which we have agreed with the financial institutions. To the extent that there are minor deviations in terms of revenue shortfalls or increases in expenditure, we'll be able to make compensating, counterbalancing adjustments so as to maintain the targets. There's going to be possible volatility in the capital flows as well as the exchange rate as a result of the Moody's decision. And I do think that once the investors recognize that Sri Lanka is in a stable position, that we are not deviating from our macroeconomic fundamentals, things should stabilize. Total debt, that includes domestic and foreign, almost 11 trillion, right? The foreign debt component is about 5,500 billion. This total debt is not going to mature in 2019 or even over the next 5 years. As you know, some of our maturities extend up to 10 years. The other debt, about 5.4 billion, about 1 billion of that actually consists of Sri Lanka development bonds which are local, can be very easily refinanced. Then the others are project loans. Project loans are not only outflows. We receive from bilateral and multilateral sources in a given year up to about 600 million, at least $600 million. So that's another source of funds that are going to be in total, at the end of the day, we might have to finance externally about $2 billion if we are going to go to markets.
Downgrading essentially means that the cost of borrowing for the country has gone up. This has followed the events of the last 3 weeks, where there has been a political coup in this country and political instability. So the economic gradings don't just depend on the immediate economic impact, because economy takes time in terms of its pluses and minuses, but it is also in anticipation of what could happen, and that's essentially what a grading is about. Just in the last 3 weeks, the bond yields have gone up tremendously from about 5.62% to about 9.89% on a term bond as of last week. If you take the rupee interest rates also, the 1-year treasury bill rate has gone up by 86 basis points just over this short period. Our government received a precarious economy. We went in for stabilization of the budget with fiscal consolidation. Therefore, revenues had to be raised, budget deficit was brought down, international reserves were at a historic high, inflation was down, and we were well on the way for consolidation. It's unfortunate that this set path has now been disrupted by the recent political instability that has been created. Article 148 of the Constitution very clearly states that Parliament is sovereign over all financial matters and has full control over financial matters. If this situation continues, that from the 1st of January, there will be no government and no money that would be available for government expenditure, which has been approved by Parliament.
Turkey is unhappy with the cooperation it is receiving from Saudi Arabia over the murder of US-based Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The journalist was killed at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul on the 2nd of October, and Turkey is now saying that it will push for a United Nations inquiry on the killing if the Saudis does not extend their further cooperation.
Turkey is not entirely satisfied with the level of cooperation it is receiving from Saudi Arabia over the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi and may seek a formal United Nations inquiry over the issue if its liaising with Riyadh comes to an impasse. Speaking to reporters yesterday in Washington after meeting with US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu said Turkey has shared the latest information on the Khashoggi killing with the United States and repeated Ankara's stance that the truth had to come out on who gave the orders to kill the journalist. Cavusoglu said the cooperation with Riyadh is not at a level where Ankara wanted to be, adding that if liaising with Saudi authorities came to a standstill, Turkey could seek a formal UN inquiry. Turkey's comments come as the Saudi foreign minister told the BBC that calls to remove Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman are a red line. Adel Al-Jubeir said the prince had not been involved in the 2nd of October killing in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. It came a day after the US Congress demanded an investigation into whether the prince had a role in the murder. Touching on Turkey's claim that they have overwhelming evidence about the killing, the Saudi minister urged Turkey to provide all the evidence and stop leaking information. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump also defended US ties with Saudi Arabia in insisting that his policy is America first and that he will not jeopardize the global economy by taking a hard line on Saudi Arabia. In a statement yesterday, Trump acknowledged that the Crown Prince could very well have known about Khashoggi's brutal murder, adding maybe he did and maybe he didn't.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
Fernando Alonso is leaving Formula One after Sunday's season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, but McLaren say that they will not hesitate to seek his services again if needed. The double world champion has not ruled out a comeback while recognizing it is unlikely at the age of 37, but team boss Zach Brown says the Spaniard would be the first driver he called if there was a problem.
If something happened and we needed a driver, he'd certainly be on our speed dial, and it just depends what other commitments he's maybe made and does it conflict or not. He's a great character. It's a shame that he won't go out with a chance at victory or podium, so that's, I think, probably disappointing for all of us because he's driving the best he's ever driven. Unfortunately, given his long career, he's only won 2 championships. I think had he been in the right cars over that 17, 18-year career, he could be sitting in the same place Lewis and Michael is with 5, 6, 7 world championships.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
Now moving on to your weather forecast for tomorrow, temperatures are to vary between 20 and 28 degrees Celsius with the highest of 28 expected in Batticaloa. Showers or thunder showers will occur over most provinces of the island, including the eastern and Uva provinces and in the district of Hambantota. Misty conditions may occur at some places in the central, Sabaragamuwa and western provinces during the morning hours. And here's a look at your city-by-city forecast. And that's it from all of us here at First and 9. And before we go, we'd like to take you to Talawakele today. Talawakele is the centre of Dimbula tea planting district, which is the largest tea growing area in Sri Lanka. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.